told him that he killed his two friends?
He ain't come out and say, like, we got into an argument. And so, you know, if you know, when people can say something without saying it.
Recent reports are dropping a bombshell. YNW Melly might be facing the ultimate sentence, and he's not going down without a fight.
YNW Melly, I'm so happy he in jail getting mistreated. Yeah, I'm so happy he in jail getting mistreated, homie. Homie, when you take a life, homie.
Melly and his legal squad are throwing everything they've got to keep him alive, but with how this case has been unfolding, things are looking straight up grim. Now, for those who haven't been keeping up, Jamel Demons, better known as YNW Melly, has been behind bars for a good minute, and the heat on him is intense.
That would be the part where he's saying that someone just shot the car up and was trying to shoot him. So I asked him if he was okay, where he was, and he's like, there's a car coming behind him, like hiding. He was like, there's some, there's some. I think they're still out here or something. So I'm like, are you okay? He's like, I'm okay. I said, well, where are Sack and Juvie? And he said, I don't know if they're in the car. I think they're...
He's accused of taking out two of his closest friends, Anthony YNW Sack Chaser Williams and Christopher YNW Juvie Thomas Jr. And this case? It's been dragging on forever. We're talking mistrials, courtroom showdowns, missing evidence, the whole legal circus. But now things are taking a dark turn because word on the street is that the death penalty might be back in play.
So the first thing is I didn't have a firearm, so I can't know which firearm I'm going to use in order to replicate any of my tests. So I can't make tests for this determination because I don't know what...
Since his arrest in 2019, Melly's been locked up for 6 long years. 2,159 days to be exact, without a single guilty verdict. That's a crazy amount of time to be sitting behind bars with no conviction. And through it all, prosecutors have been relentless, coming at him like they've got a personal vendetta, making sure he never sees the outside world again.
What will you make for the jury?
Leon Phillips.
Okay. And are you related to one of the kids in this case?
Yes, I am.
How so?
I'm his mother.
And who is that?
Christopher Thomas.
Ms. Phillips, did you see who entered into the occupants who entered into that gray Jeep?
Yes.
Do you recognize where your son entered that gray Jeep?
Yes.
Which seat, if you can identify for the jury?
He got in the back seat.
But just when everyone thought this case couldn't get any wilder, boom! A new judge steps in, and he's not here to play. This judge takes one hard look at the case, sees how long Melly's been locked up, and straight up presses the prosecution, demanding a real reason why he's still behind bars. And if they couldn't give him one, he was ready to drop that bond the very next day. That put the prosecution on the spot. They had to act fast. So what did they do? Now they're dragging King Von into this mess. Prosecutors are out here trying to tie Melly to Von, claiming that their connection somehow makes him a bigger threat. But let's be real. Is it really that simple? Because if you really break it down, this is looking like straight up guilt by association.
3. From the driver's side back seat.
As to the shot that killed Christopher Thomas, where did that come from?
Driver's side back seat.
No.
My determination was that this is not a drive-by, and it's based upon this at a stationary position when all but one of these rounds are going in.
Now let's speculate for a second. Back when Vaughn was still around, what if Melly hit him up for advice on how to handle his situation with YNW Sack Chaser and YNW Juvie? We all know Vaughn's energy, so you can only imagine what kind of response Melly might have gotten. And now, there's a wild rumor floating around the streets. A rogue O-Block member allegedly spilled that Melly had a conversation with Vaughn about his two friends before everything went down. Here's the kicker. According to sources close to the situation, YNW Melly was allegedly venting about how Sack Chaser and Juvie were pressuring him for money. And prosecutors, they're running with it. They're convinced that's the real reason everything took a dark turn. Here's how it all breaks down. Melly and his crew, including Bortland, had a legit registered business, an LLC. They were making money off shows, merch, and promotions, and that cash was getting split between the 4 YNW members. But here's where things get tricky. Sack Chaser and Juvie were each entitled to 25% of that money. That's a 50% cut of Melly's show money. And that's a massive chunk of change. So according to the prosecution, Melly didn't want to give up that kind of bread, and that's where the tension started. And to back up their claims, they pulled out receipts. They revealed a text message allegedly sent from Melly's phone just hours after it all went down, where he straight up admitted to everything. Then came the bombshell. Prosecutors pulled out a saved Facebook Live video from just 6 hours after everything went down. And what did it show? Melly and Bortlen chilling in a parking lot, straight up celebrating. They were dancing, laughing, showing zero signs of stress, sadness, or grief for their so-called fallen brothers. This new evidence shook the courtroom to its core, making things look real bad for Melly. But his legal team? They weren't about to let this slide without a fight. His lawyers clapped back hard, pulling up text messages between Melly and his ex-girlfriend Mariah, showing his real-time reaction as everything unfolded. Then they hit the prosecution with something even wilder, GPS evidence. They claimed Melly was actually running down the street, hiding in a bush, trying to escape a situation with some rival crew, basically saying he was a victim too and barely made it out alive. And that's not all. The defense threw another curveball, pointing out that no weapon was ever found. That's a serious hole in the prosecution's case. If there's no murder weapon, where's the hard proof? But even with all that, the judge wasn't buying any shortcuts. He wanted every angle covered before making a final move. So he called for one last piece of evidence. That's when the prosecution went all in, pulling out the smoking gun, physical evidence straight from the crime scene. The big one? The Jeep. The same vehicle Melly and his 2 friends were riding in that night. They even brought back old trial footage, where Sergeant Williams analyzed the car, running multiple tests. And he wasn't hesitant at all. He said with full confidence that this was no drive-by. According to Sergeant Williams, the shots came from inside the car, from the back left seat. And guess who was sitting there? This wasn't some random street situation. It happened inside the vehicle. And if Melly was really in that back left seat, you already know where this is headed. But the prosecution wasn't done yet. To lock it in, they brought YNW Juvie's mother to the stand. And she did exactly what they needed, confirming who was sitting where that night. And that's when things got even messier. This case isn't just about the original accusations anymore. Witness tampering charges just got thrown into the mix. And it's not just Melly in the hot seat. His right-hand man, YNW Bortlen, is caught up in it too. This whole situation just went from bad to a complete disaster. So how did all this even come up? Allegedly, everything traces back to Melly's ex-girlfriend, Mariah Hamilton. Sources close to the case claim she might be one of the few people who actually knows what really went down. And guess what? The feds weren't playing games. They dug into her iCloud, and that's when they allegedly found something off. They believe Melly was pressuring her to keep quiet and not take the stand. And if that's true, that's a major problem. Because witness tampering, that's a whole different level. It carries a life sentence, no matter how the original case turns out. But here's where it gets even crazier. Mariah straight up ghosted the first trial. A warrant went out for her arrest, and word on the street, she skipped the country to dodge it. But that didn't last long. Authorities caught her slipping when she came back on January 26th. Now here's the wild part. How did the feds even know about Mariah's call with YNW Melly right after the incident? Turns out it was Mariah's own mother who came forward, giving a statement that she was on the phone with Melly right after everything went down. But then, just like that, during the first trial, Mariah switched up her whole story. She claimed she wasn't in her right state of mind when she made that statement. Confusing? Absolutely. But it doesn't stop there. YNW Juvie's father wasn't buying it. He wasn't about to sit back and just accept what he was hearing. So what did he do? Started digging. He was talking to people, connecting dots, trying to piece together the truth. And what he allegedly uncovered? straight up crazy. According to him, Melly was using coded language with Mariah, trying to control what she would say. We're talking notes being passed, messages going through intermediaries, the whole nine. He even had code names, allegedly calling Mariah Rihanna and referring to her as Rocky's baby mom when discussing her role in all of this. And just when you think this case can't get any crazier, it does. Now YNW Bortland is caught up in his own situation. The feds raided his spot and reportedly found something big, documents stuffed in a suitcase. And on those papers, Bortland allegedly had detailed notes on every single juror from Melly's original trial. Not just names, full descriptions of what they looked like. What was he planning? Nobody really knows. But let's be real, this is not a good look. Even DJ Academics spoke on it, calling this a dangerous move. Because if Bortland gets convicted, it could mean a life sentence for both him and YNW Melly. And now, with Donald Trump vowing to bring back the death penalty, reports are saying that if Melly is found guilty, he could be facing the ultimate sentence. The internet is split on this one. Some people think it's time to wrap this case up already, while others believe Melly is being held unlawfully with no real evidence. One user vented, "Why do they keep postponing trial dates like they have all the time in the world? They could just wrap everything up in a week and decide. Why is it taking so long?" And honestly, that's a fair point. It's been 6 years of delays and people are tired of waiting. Another user jumped in saying, "They're just purposely leaving this man in jail unlawfully. You have nothing against him. Let him go." So what do you think? Is this a case of justice taking its course? Or is Melly being held without real proof? Let us know in the comments. And while you're at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss an update on this wild case. More crazy stories coming your way, so stay locked in. See you on the next one.